Today's episode is on how to build an online community in your niche.
Are you looking to build an online community in your niche? Or perhaps you have a community but they are not very engaged and you're looking to revive it? If the answer is yes, you will love today's conversation. Hi, this is Eric here and you're listening to #Highly Sought After. My guest is Ivan Kwek. He is a content creator and community leader of 3 local communities, SGIG, the Social Running Club, and the Photolog, which combined have over 17,000 members on Instagram and have connected thousands of people on the topics of photography and fitness. He has also been featured by brands like Apple, collaborated with Lululemon, and remember to stay all the way to the end because I'm going to ask him the $1 million question on how he managed to get all these big brands to work with him. So with that, let's have a chat with Ivan Kwek. So Ivan, what I did not include in the bio, right, was that you're a coffee purveyor and you're also an entrepreneur in the coffee business.
Yes.
So I'm really curious, like what led you to suddenly start a photography and a fitness community?
Okay, so I didn't plan all this. It just happened, and one thing leads to another. So in terms of community, I started SGIG way before I started a coffee business or got into a coffee business. So that was already prior to that. But due to COVID, I started running and the next thing I know, I started to gather friends to run together, and then that's how I started a community on running.
On running, the Social Running Club.
Social Running Club.
What I'm really interested, for those of you who are listening to us, right, on my table right now are all things Instagram. We have an Instagram tote bag, we have 2 Instagram cups, we have lots of Instagram badges. So let's talk about the very first community you set up, which is IGSG, right?
No,
SGIG, Singapore Instagram, right?
Yes.
So how did that come about?
Okay, so again, it was very organic. So prior to that, how it started was I already have a small community of iPhone users, and we were shooting with our iPhones. We did a crazy thing. We chartered a coach and then went on a trip to Malacca and a day trip and back. And that was very early stage of Instagram. So I used to run that community where I was featuring photographers from all over the world.
Yeah.
And then when Instagram came about, I said, hey, because I can't meet them, right? Why don't I start a local community? And Instagram was very new then, and it's only for iPhone users when it first started.
Very similar to Clubhouse.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So when I see Clubhouse, there's so much similarity between Clubhouse and Instagram. So I decided to why don't I start a community and we meet up every month, right? And the interest in photography, because Instagram was a photo sharing app then. So it's very photography based, and I already have a group of people who are already meeting up, and that opens up to a very big group of people who were onto Instagram, and we talk about photography, and I started coining this thing called a photo walk. So we go about doing photo walk, and then I start this thing called Insta show. So I featured different photographers sharing their works, sharing tips, and like I said, it's just one thing leads to another.
And that was early 2010, right? Where Instagram just started.
End of 2010 when Instagram first started. So that was Instagram started like in October.
Gosh, that's 11 years ago.
Yeah, they just celebrate that 11th birthday on the 6th of October, if I'm not wrong. And then I kind of got into Instagram, I think in December, so a few months later. And then we went on a trip. And after that, 2011 onwards, I start organizing a monthly meetup. Yeah.
Okay, I'm very curious. So you're a photographer, avid photographer, passionate about taking photos. Why would you suddenly think about, hey, you know what? Let's start a community. What motivated you to start it?
It's very organic. It wasn't like I planned, okay, I need to start a community. But the funny thing is, when from a trip from Malacca and we start to share photos on Instagram, and then I decided to start a hashtag called SGIG. Yeah. And because Instagram was, when it first started, there wasn't hashtag. So you see photos from all over the world, and it's quite, messy per se.
Correct.
When they started hashtag and I created SGIG, I'm able to filter out photos coming out from Singapore and connect with fellow Singaporeans who were posting on Instagram. And that's how the community was kind of formed. Yeah. So I'm quite embarrassed to say this, but at that point of time, hashtag was new and SGIG became the top 10 hashtag in the world. Then you got like love, cats, clouds, and then SGIG, which doesn't have any meaning then. And I think that was why people start tagging SGIG, and I start to discover so many talented photographers in Singapore. And that's how the community was kind of
Two things I
formed.
learned from you immediately, that it really is like this first mover advantage. Like whenever there's a new social
Definitely.
media platform, there's always going to be short of content, but lots of eyeballs.
Yes,
Right.
yeah.
And so that gap is actually what gets you the visibility. So I'm just thinking, I mean, I know you're Instagram cam. I feel like TikTok is in that space right now. It's been
Yes.
around for a while.
Yeah.
It trended in Singapore last year, right? 2020. But it feels the same way as well.
Yeah.
That was my first
That's
takeaway
definitely
from you.
trending right now. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel that the second thing is it's more like a social thing for you. Would you say it's nothing to do with business? You never thought
No,
about, I
so
want to
it's
get a bunch
more
of followers.
like the purpose, because prior to that I was featuring photographers from all over the world,
Yeah.
like shooting with the iPhone, and then Instagram came about. I was featuring local Instagrammers who were also shooting with iPhone then, and featuring their work. So that was my primary purpose, was to showcase talented,
There you have it. It's a certain kind of a vision or a certain kind of desire,
yes,
but it's nothing to do with you.
yeah, kind of, yeah,
Right? Because let me tell you why, Ivan. See, community is a buzzword today.
yep,
Everybody says we need to build a community.
Mm-hmm.
But the danger is that I notice how people build a community around themselves.
yep.
ABC community, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So my question to you then is, because today we title it as how to build an online community in your niche.
Mm-hmm.
So we all know, as entrepreneurs, as content creators, there is a lot of value in building a community. What's your take on it?
Definitely. I mean, there's a lot of value in building communities. For businesses, mainly, I think the communities help to, it's not so much of you telling how good your product is, but if you have community people who are into your product and your services, and they are the one that are telling other people about it, that's the best kind of marketing, because it's authentic, it's real, and it's free. That's the best part, right? You got all these people who are rooting for you and telling people about what you are selling. So I think that's the beauty of community. And what you want to do is, and they are your, like a fan club, and they will kind of on their own effort promote your product or service, and they will also give you feedback. So I think that community helps. It's like a loop. So even if you have a product and then they give you a feedback and you improve on it, and you find that this community will slowly grow, and nothing beats having a group of people helping you to promote your product on their own accord. Yeah.
I love that. So in other words, having a community is like having a lot of raving fans.
Yes. Actually, who really believe in what you're doing and are supportive of what you're doing.
And I like the part that you said that it's not just about one-way communication, but it's a lot about them communicating back to you, like a feedback loop.
Yep.
Because you know what? People will not tell you the truth, right? But if they are your fans,
Yep.
they will tell you, the truth. They will tell you what
Correct.
they like, what they don't like.
And definitely they have to kind of believe what you're doing. And that's why they're supportive of what you're doing. So it can be any niche. For example, if you're into, I don't know, like pets, you can have a community who are really into dogs, and they will share advice and places where you can, I don't know, find the best groomers or whatever. So you'll be amazed the amount of information you can gather from the community. So for example, I started a running community, and I just picked up running a year ago. And partly why I started community was I was running, and my friend was saying, "Hey, I didn't know you run. Maybe we should run together." And then I started getting a few friends, and we start running together. And some of these friends I haven't met for like 5 or 10 years, right? And then it's like catching up with them and realize that more and more people were starting to join me, asking me, "Hey, can we run together?"
Why? Because everybody's also running, but why is it that people are drawn
I
to
think because
running
of
with you?
COVID, partly, and everybody is like, cabin fever and stuck at home, and they want to go out and exercise, and running has other benefits which I learned along the way, and I discovered like new running routes, what type of running shoe to buy, any tips, and I think the community helps in supporting one another, and I think that's the beauty of having a community. and it's like like-minded people who are passionate about running, and coming together and run together. And it doesn't matter how fast or how far you run. It's for me, a community is also a social thing. Like you meet fellow runners, you meet fellow people who share the common interests. And when you meet them, you get very excited because, hey, we have same wavelength. And what I call that is finding your tribe, right? I think that's how you will draw people together, and that's how you start a community, actually.
Got it. So step number one in building a community is to think of a common passion. That seems to be the case for your social running club.
Yep.
Or a common vision, maybe.
Or purpose, like you want
purpose,
to,
which is that photography one that you want to feature.
People who will shoot with their iPhones, talent photographers.
So let's say now we're into a coaching session. Okay, we have business people. Let's say we have a lot of listeners who are in real estate. We have listeners who are in the financial advisory. So and even network marketing, and they understand the value of having a community. How do they get about starting it? And must it be about, let's say I'm a financial advisor, must my community be about insurance or finance?
So for example, I'm in the coffee industry, but photography is something I'm passionate about. So it doesn't have to be your work. It can be something, let's say you're passionate about cooking, right? You can find, share recipe, get people together to cook together, and it can be anything. Yeah, but back to business, right? And you want to form a community about financial advisory, and if you're very passionate about, I meet communities who provide that to domestic workers, and they are passionate about that. It's how to find these people and you have a vision, of purpose is to educate them, and then so that they can improve their life, right? So it's how to find these people and get them together, and then that's how you start a community. So you need to be kind of clear what you are passionate about, what's your vision, and then and just wait for these people to come together.
And it doesn't have to always be tied to business. You know how some entrepreneurs were very goal-oriented. We're like, I want to set up a community so that I can get more business opportunity. But what you're saying is we should keep that away first.
Yeah, do something that you like, something that you're very passionate about. So for my example, I was maybe at that point of time in 2010, I was crazy over iPhone photography.
Yeah.
And that's why Phenomenon was my handle on Instagram. It was a phenomenon then. and it blows me away that I can do so much with the phone, right? So just to share an example, I was shooting in Bali with iPhone, and then there's in a paddy field, and I managed to get Wi-Fi connected to the villa, and I upload and share on Facebook. So the phone to me was not just a device just to make phone calls, right? You can navigate, you can share on social media, you can take photos, you can do so much with it, right? You can have app that you can edit photos. So I just discovered like a very powerful tool. So I was very enthusiastic. I was crazy over it, and that was my passion then. And then it slowly leads to featuring people. I was very, very intrigued. Hey, how did this guy do this? I want to learn. I want to feature him and share this with other people. So there must be a value so that people will follow the community, because they are able to get something out of it as well, because they can learn new tips, or they can meet other people. So for me, community is not just a one-way thing. It's really finding your tribe, all the like-minded people coming together, and then you form the community, and just see how it evolve, and then that's the exciting. But I have many stories to share, because so in 2010, we decided to do a exhibition.
Yeah.
And I run a community alone. I don't have like a team of people who help me like full time or anything. But I was very thankful, because it's not easy to run a photo exhibition, because I'm passionate about it. So I found that exhibition are usually like professional photographers, but I want it to be anybody can join the exhibition. So it was a public exhibition, anybody can submit. The unique thing is everything is run on Instagram. You submit on Instagram. You don't even have to print it out or anything.
Correct.
And we curate on Instagram. We select the photos. We download on Instagram and we print it out on 4R. And we were surprised that the resolution is very good enough.
Yeah.
And I was very thankful that at that point of time, MLB sponsored the venue for the exhibition.
National Library Board.
Yeah. So and we have the entire 8th floor, the foyer, for the exhibition. So that was also helped to kind of we were featured on newspaper, and some of I was surprised that some of the submission people who exhibited were some of our bloggers like Mr. Brown, who was one of who he submitted his photos, and I deliberately choose very neutral creators. So they some of them are not even on Instagram, so they don't know who these people are, and they choose based on merit of the photos. So we have like about 300 over photos by 100 over photographers, and I think that kind of helped to bring the community together. And I have a lot of these volunteers who say, hey, Ivan, let me help. I know how can I help? Because I need all the help I can get to print the photos, to put up the photos. And I'm very thankful through that exhibition. It shows me, this is what a community is about. Helping one another, bring all these people together. And some of them are so proud. It's my first time showing my exhibition. Yeah. And I like it because I'm able to create a platform for you to showcase, which is what I always wanted to do. Showcase your photos. And I remember one of my friend Rushdi, which I get to know him through exhibition. It was Hari Raya, and they were going around visitation. He brought the whole kampong, literally the whole kampong. Everybody came to his exhibition in the kabaya and all that, all nicely dressed up. And I think it's all these people that I met along the way that makes the community very special to me. For me, it's meeting all these interesting people, featuring them, getting to know them. And for the last, it's been 11 years, and we have been friends since then.
Wow. Yeah. So there's a lot to unpack in that story. Okay, let's see how you do this. I think number one that I pick up from you is, it's for you to build a sustainable community. Number one, you need to have a certain obsession.
Yeah, or passion, something that you're crazy about.
And I realized that it doesn't have to be crazy about a topic. That means photography. It could even be crazy about a certain group of people.
Yep.
Which in your case, actually, you're not really crazy about the photos itself, but you're crazy about helping photographers have the platform and visibility. So that gave me a clue that even if I don't have a passion in a certain area like running, but is there a certain target audience that I'm super passionate about? Maybe I'm very passionate about helping first-time moms.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe I'm very passionate about helping young entrepreneurs who doesn't seem to do well in school, because maybe I'm one of them and I want to help them. So for those of us watching this or listening to this, maybe that's a starting point.
Yeah, I think this is a platform where you're helping entrepreneurs to find out tips, right?
Yeah.
And featuring them.
So we basically don't think about ourselves, because I guess it's when you try to think about yourself, you can't come up with a great idea of what to build.
Yep.
But the minute you think about a topic, or you think about a certain group of people, suddenly it becomes so easy to communicate about how you want to help them.
Yeah.
So
it comes out naturally as well.
Comes out naturally. Yeah. Now, the second thing I want to check in with you is, you were a very big capitalist. There's a saying that if you are dancing crazily alone, you have a dancing alone, people think you're crazy. But the minute the second person dance with you, you are a team leader. It's like a community, right?
Yep,
you need to have you.
So you just need one crazy person to start dancing. And then you see which other crazy guy is going to join you.
And the minute you have one other crazy guy join you, you're no longer crazy.
Yeah, you're a community. You're a tribe. You're a tribe. Yeah.
You're a tribe.
So you find your tribe. Yeah.
Someone asks you the next step. What does it take to be a community leader? Someone that starts that community.
Someone who is crazy enough. So he's brave enough and courageous enough and crazy enough to do it. So, and I think maybe that's I was crazy enough to do something like that. So,
and that no one has done it.
Yeah, at that point of time, no one has. I mean, I was also an early adopter on Instagram, so I was fortunate to, and I didn't plan all this. I didn't okay, I want to start a community, and I know I'm going to grow the community. Nothing. There was just, I just want to feature people. That's what I want to do. I want to get to know people. There are so many talented people out there who are not featured, and that's what we try to do. So since day one.
I love it. So two more things I take away. And the minute I know my passionate topic, my obsession, or the group of people, the second thing, it has to come from an angle of wanting to get to know your members better. Because a lot of times people use community as self-promotion.
Yes, I think that's not really a community, because people can see that you have a hidden agenda. So, you're trying to, monetize and make use of people or whatever. But I think if you come out very genuine, people know that you are there really to showcase. You're not there for a selfish reason. I think nobody can do a community. Like for example, the exhibition taught me that I can't do it alone. I need all the help I can.
Yeah.
The only thing I can do is after the end of the exhibition, I buy everyone dinner. Like that's the best I can do. I can't pay you guys. There's so many, I wouldn't have enough funding. And I was very thankful for those sponsors that came along. I was surprised that the opening of the exhibition, NLB hosted dinner. Like, are you well, that was like, I know they printed all the banners and I was very, very thankful. I was like, and then I got, at a point of time I was in a marketing agency and Epsom was one of my customers. I said, hey, I'm doing an exhibition. Would you want to sponsor? And they say, oh, sure. They were sponsoring like the printer and the prints for the exhibition. So I was very thankful for all the help that I managed to get, all the sponsorship, because I won't be able to do it alone. Yeah. So as I said, one thing leads to another, but you must be crazy enough to say, let's do this, let's try, and you don't know what it will lead to. And yeah, that was a very good experience for me.
How have you benefited, or how have you I mean, I know you start with the point of view of wanting to help all the people, but how have you wanting to help others actually end up helping you back, looking back right now for so many years?
I think when doing all this, the primary purpose was really to feature people, but and then sometimes the media get hold of it, get wind of it, and then they start to interview me, and it starts to the attention was not, I don't want to draw it to me, but the community and what we're doing as community. And at infancy stage of Instagram, then there wasn't like ads, or company were clueless what to do on Instagram. So they start to approach me and say, hey, you do all this meetup, right? About what is all this community? What is this photo walk that you're doing? Can we collab? And then that's how I start to work with different brands, and doing photo walks, doing exhibition. So it, like I say, it's always one thing that leads to another. And to today, I sometimes get surprised by why brands will call me up and say, can we work together on certain projects? Because they have seen what I've done on other projects, and they really like what they're doing. And one example was I was doing all this photo walks and Insta trip, I call it. So once a year, crazy idea again. We decided, okay, once a year we'll travel. Yes. Let's go. We started in Malacca, right? That was my first trip, and then we went. And we went to, where was? Oh, it's so long ago.
Yeah, it felt like ages ago since you travel,
right? and so one of staff from Tiger Air came for one of my Insta meet and said, hey, I really like what you're doing, and maybe you can work together, because since you do, I said, sure. I mean, I do this yearly travel called Insta Trip, and they actually were so generous. They sponsored like 10 tickets, and we did a few collaboration. We went to India, China, and that's how one thing, listener, if she didn't appear at our Insta meet, I won't get to meet her. This will not even happen.
And she is a community member in that sense, right?
Kind of. So she was like participant, and maybe she was there to check out what this guy is doing. And then she really enjoyed herself, and she said that, okay, let's work together. Yeah. So I'm just fortunate, very, very fortunate along the way while being featured, and people really appreciate what I was doing and decided to kind of work and collaborate with me.
So it seems to me that the biggest value of building a community is that you have their loyalty, you have their trust, right? Because they came together for that purpose, right?
Correct. And it's just, so what, if you look at my Instagram, it's like bring people together. That's what I love to do. Like, people from different demographic, different age group, and you'd be surprised. Some of Insta Meet, they bring their kids along, just to share one story. And I still remember it was like a picnic at Botanic Gardens. 2 families brought their kids along. Their kids just hit off. These 2 families became good friends. From then onwards, they travel every year.
Wow.
And to me, that's very heartwarming, because I brought 2 strangers coming together, and their kids are about the same age, right? And since then, sometimes they do 2 or 3 trips a year. Like, wow. Like, so to me, that's what I get out from a community. That makes me very, very happy, because it's not me. It's like bring people together and form relationship, right?
So does that mean that as a community leader, not only must you be courageous, as you mentioned, or crazy, but you need to be social oriented, maybe? Like you enjoy bringing people together?
That's the irony because I'm actually an introvert.
Oh God! I was about to ask you that question. Are you an introvert or
I'm
extrovert?
actually a functional introvert. So I'm actually an introvert. So if you put me in an island or put me alone, I'm be very
Perfectly
happy.
fine.
Yeah, like COVID, I was self-quarantined for a while. I'm very happy. Yeah, but I think I don't know, but I enjoy meeting people. Like I get, because partly I observe and I learn a lot from people that I meet along the way. And there's so many interesting people out there. I think I'm driven by curiosity. That's why I always wanted to feature people, right? Because I'm like, why is this person so talented? Why is this person so interesting? Right? And in the exhibition, back to exhibition, we deliberately featured the youngest participant, which is a 9-year-old. I think she's probably 20 right now, after 11 years.
Time flies.
And she's flying off for her studies. So I'm still in touch.
Gosh,
and then the
nice.
oldest was a housewife in her 50, 60. And we dedicated one whole wall to feature their photos, because to me, I don't know, because it's a good opportunity for it. You don't have to be professional, I just want to showcase talented people, young, old, doesn't matter who you are.
You're shining light on them, like giving them
and
the
that,
platform.
to me, that's was my purpose for creating this community, this space.
And I mean, I'm looking at it as an outsider, okay, that because you came from a very pure place, that you want to learn, you're curious about people, you have a certain obsession and passion about a certain topic, but the heart came from also wanting to uplift them, wanting to shine the light on them, and someone needs to do it, you decide that you want to do it.
Yep.
But as a result of that, you start to have that community, which is eyeballs and trust, right? The relationship. And that's what draw brands to you. Because think about it, brands are looking for I mean, lack of a better word, right? Influencer. I know people hate to use that word.
I still hate to
right,
use
you still
that
hate
word.
it, right?
Yeah.
And so I would say brands are looking for beacons of light in certain areas.
Probably, yeah.
So for example, just like you mentioned, let's talk about iPhone 13, right? In fact, guys, Ivan was one of the first guys I know in my circle that got an iPhone 13.
Oh yeah.
Right? And he was doing the shoot. So that was a case in point, right? That you have a certain credibility and your people listen to you. And therefore, if the brand works with you, they get to borrow that influence. So I think it's a fringe benefit.
I think so. So
yeah. I know you don't want to say it because I observe you and I know that you don't want it to be seen like, oh, you see, I built this community so that I get all this brand.
That's not the intention.
Totally
Never the intention.
I totally get you. And that's why I love, I can say it because I'm an outsider, right? And I look back and I realize that, wow, really, if you do the right thing, right, things will just flow. So what are some of the mistakes? I mean, you have seen a lot of people trying to build communities, right?
Yeah.
Online and offline. What do you think are some of the key mistakes that we should
a lot
avoid?
of communities I've seen, everything is dependent on the founder or the leader. So I've seen so many communities come and go because, for example, a community, the founder decided to migrate overseas and nobody took over the community and it just collapsed. Or there were like many internal conflict in the community and there's a lot of politics and a lot of squabbles or people who don't agree with each other. So I'm trying to stay out of that, and that's the reason why I don't kind of run it very casually, because it's not a business. It's so it's just, if you want to be part of the community and contribute to the community, I'm more than happy to do it. But I haven't think of the next step, which is really to pass over. If I'll be gladly. How do I hand over the community? If, let's say, for example, I'm migrating, for example. I'm not. But how do I start or hand over this community? So what I'm doing in the social running club is, what I learned is it cannot be dependent on one person. I used to organize everything on my own. So what I'm trying to do is to find crazy people like me who are willing to dance along with or together with me and get them to organize some of these runs. So it's not just me. So even if I'm gone, it can still be sustainable and it's still ongoing.
So giving ownership to more of your active members.
Yep.
Got it. And
so a lot of the you mentioned what are the pitfall, right? A lot of them hold on to, I'm the founder, I know I should guard it. I should not let you take over communities. or you to run it. But I don't see it that way. Of course, you got to trust these people who are helping you to, because they are your people who dance together with you. You definitely need to trust them. And I'm very thankful for them, because some of some of these friends they are actually organizing the runs. So I join them for the runs. I don't have to organize it. So I think that's one way to keep it sustainable.
I feel that when I'm hearing from you, right, a community leader could be the spark at the beginning.
Precisely.
Right?
Yeah.
The catalyst, which you are, right? And you also have to kind of be the spiritual guide to remind everyone who joins, like, why is this community built? Because
yes,
you're kind of the source, right? You started it.
And it's very interesting, because as you interview me, then it dawns on me that that has been the purpose that I've set out to do, which is to feature people since day one. Like, and then that's what you're doing. Actually, you're doing a community. You're featuring different people in this podcast.
And
right?
I mean, it's just that we never have that vocabulary.
Yeah, so you're
right?
actually a community builder as well. Yeah. So,
oh my God. Yeah. So actually, if you think because the show is called Highly Sought After, and oh my God, you're getting me goosebumps. Okay, I've never connected the dots, right? Because I always thought a community is essentially a bunch of people that gather together on a social media platform or a offline platform, like maybe they are in the meetup.com, that kind. But now what I'm hearing from you and what I'm learning from you is a community is essentially just a bunch of people that shares the same vision as you.
Precisely. So you're probably the first person to start a community in the podcast. You'd be surprised.
I mean, if you think about it, my guests are part of the community, right?
Precisely,
and the listeners are also part of the community.
Precisely, yeah. So what you are definitely a community builder.
And you know what? What was very interesting that I realized, because this is only my 25th interview or so, right? It's only 10 months. I realized that when the important thing about being a leader, it's never about making yourself a star. It's about being a star maker. And it's about looking for bright sparks and draw attention to it. And then more bright sparks will be joined.
Precisely.
And so, yeah, thanks for that. Thanks for reminding me that we are all community leaders when we start to pay attention outwards and connect our passions with a certain purpose. Yeah. Because you don't just want to be passionate about running, but maybe there's something else you want to do, right? A purpose.
For me, I'm new to running. So for me, when I meet a community, I'm actually learning from them. Like, what are, tips on how do I, get less injury while running? What are the latest gears or things like that? So I'm learning along the way. So it's not just me. There's nothing special in me that make me the leader, but I'm just the crazy person, the courageous person, in brave enough to start something. Yeah. So nothing should stop you from starting community.
I love that.
Yeah.
And so the heart is important, right?
Definitely.
I think the heart is important. And so, okay, as we summarize it, right? So step number one, when you want to build an online community, is first ask yourself, what is an obsession that you have? Or is there a certain group of people that you kind of have a soft spot for, right? So that's the starting point.
Yes.
And then the second one is find a few more like-minded people who share the same vision or goal with you.
Correct. Find your tribe.
Yeah, find your tribe. People that also enjoy doing it together. Or there's a certain problem you want to solve or you want to feature, right? Like you said, a purpose. And then you kind of take the lead and you organized it. But as you do that, start giving away the ownership to other people so that they can also step up.
Yes. For example, if you intend to grow your community globally, there's no way you can, split yourself up and be at different places at one time. Right? So if you can find like-minded people who believe in your vision and just as passionate as you are, and can trust them to run a similar community in different countries, and that's how you grow that community into a global community.
Yeah, and sometimes we keep thinking like we need thousands of people, but we forgot this thing called network effect, right?
Yep.
I just need to bring one, and that one person bring another one, and actually it grows very fast.
Yeah.
Geometric progression, I suppose.
Yeah.
Now, remember just at the start, I shared with you that there's also a certain group of people who already have a community, but maybe they got lost halfway, or they lost that fire, or they did not start it the right way, right? They make it about them, maybe.
Yep.
How can they start reviving it?
Oh, that's a good question. I think this is good because you start to ask why in the first place you start a community. What's the purpose? So, like I mentioned, my purpose was to feature different people, in SGIG, different photographers, and have a platform for people to meet and because it was based on Instagram, which was the photo sharing, and it's a social media and social app where you get to meet different people in the early days, and that's why I started to do meetup and photo walks and things like that. So you need to go back to your purpose, and then like what you mentioned, the 3 steps, right? Understand what's your purpose, the spark, right? And someone got to start it, and then you get more people in, find your tribe. Yeah, and kind of grow that community, and then think of the third step is how to make it sustainable. I think the third step is really tough, and that's why some people may have started, they may have found a group of people, they come and go, but it ends there. They don't know how do you keep it sustainable. I think that's the question I ask myself, but because I don't know, I just let it just go with the flow. I don't have really like 10-year plan.
Yeah, not like a business plan,
5-year plan. Yeah. So as it evolved, so one thing leads to another. I was crazy enough to start another community recently from the running group. I noticed that now that we can't travel, right? Okay, now we can travel. I started a hiking group. People have been hiking, so I've been hiking with a few friends, going to different parts of Singapore. Like, hey, this is Singapore. Wow! Like, so that's also something that I'm all along passionate about. I used to travel. Like, I used to travel quite often before COVID, I traveled every 3 to 4 weeks, whether for work or for leisure. And then suddenly I just stopped all travel. So to kind of, I miss that travel and going outdoors. And that's why I started another community called the Social Hiking Club. Out of
I'm gonna raise my hand. I love it.
Okay. I'm quite surprised that and the demographic is very different. The running club and the hiking club, it's very slightly different. But some of this, I have few communities, and some of this overlap. So some of my friends are actually part of SGIG, part of the running club, and part of the hiking club.
Because they share the same passion with you. We can have a portfolio of passions,
so
right?
Basically, it's.
What tools do you use to manage those communities? Like, because I noticed that you built most of your communities on a social media platform.
Yes.
What's your thought process behind it? Why a social media platform? Why not like a meetup platform, or why not even a Telegram channel or Facebook group?
To be honest, I'm quite lazy, so I've tried to optimize things. Since I'm on Instagram, and I try not to spend too much time as well. I rather spend time, with family or friends, and not so much time just on different platform, right? So I try to kind of optimize it. Since I can post on Instagram, it's straightly way it can post on Facebook. So I just have to do one thing, and it can promote in different channels. So Instagram and Facebook are similar but slightly different as well. So you may have different demographic. The age group for Instagram is the younger, maybe in their mid-20s to 35. And then TikTok is definitely younger than that. And then I'm not on TikTok yet. Maybe one day I should start. But Facebook is slightly older group. Yeah. So all these different platforms are just different channel.
But if it's on a okay, for Facebook you build it on a page, is it?
Yes.
Okay,
like community page.
And you allow them to be able to type and
post and share.
But Instagram, how do you allow them to post? Or you're just borrowing a hashtag?
They can on Instagram. How you engage them? They can comment. You can DM them if you want. Like for example, if someone that is very talented, I love their photos, I do DM them and say, "Can I feature you?" And then we start to talk, and then I'll feature them. But some of them will hashtag to like the Social Running Club, and when they hashtag to it, I'll get the hint that probably they don't mind me sharing their running routes, their photos, and that's how we again. Back to my purpose, right, is to feature different runners, different
routes.
Different. Yeah, so it's more of featuring other people.
I got it.
Yeah, and that's, I think Instagram is a easier platform and to work that out.
So very cool. So the answer to that question would be pick a It doesn't matter which platform at the beginning, but pick a platform that you are comfortable with, and that your tribe actually are comfortable as well, right?
Yeah,
and that will already solve the problem.
Most people are on Instagram right now, so it's kind of easy to use that as a platform to get your message out. For example, I'm organizing a run, but sometimes they may not see the message, and that's where I think sometimes we use like Telegram group. So when we broadcast, everybody in that group will receive that, hey, we're doing a run this weekend. If you're keen, join us. Yeah, so these are just tools like you mentioned to I won't say manage, but to disseminate information out to the communities.
Got it.
And then if you need help, I'm very grateful. You can text them and say, hey, people will volunteer and say, yeah, I can organize a run this weekend. I can lead the run. I don't have to be there. Yeah. So
awesome.
that's
you facilitate it, right?
Yeah.
Now, since today's title it's about how to build online communities in your niche, and we have already learned the steps. We learned the purity of why we do what we do. I'm just wondering, right, that looking back the last 11 years of you building these communities, how has that inevitably contribute back to your business? Because don't forget, you're an entrepreneur too.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, I don't know. When you're passionate about something like photography on that, it doesn't seem like work. But when it comes to business, it feels like work, right? So I'm still trying. So on the business side, it's very different because people know that it's business.
Yeah.
So they know that you have a product or service to sell. So people are more hesitant, but you need to craft it to make it, how do I put it, that people can value from it. So whether you share a tip, you share a product, people can take something of value out and then they start following you. Yeah. So I think for business, it may be a bit more tricky. You have to be very creative. You have to be very deliberate. So on the business side, to jump on the bandwagon, what I'm doing is I'm creating like videos every month, like some content, and to share like new products or what you can use this for. So I think on the business side, it's slightly different, but maybe I have this stigma, right? This is like fun project, like, my hobby.
Yeah.
And then this is like work. Maybe I should get over it and then mash it up a little bit.
Yeah.
And then make it less serious, make work less serious, I think more fun. Yeah, I'm learning. So when we're talking about
discussing, here's my idea.
I think that's what I should.
Because I read a book before. I can't remember what's the book, but this guy was talking about setting up LinkedIn groups, right? And he said that just because you are in a certain profession doesn't mean you need to set up a profession-related group. So say I'm an accountant. I don't have to set up an accountancy group. So ask yourself, who do you serve? So the accountant says, I serve entrepreneurs, business owners. Okay, good. Think about what kind of problems do business owners face? Who would the business owner want to get to know? You be the community leader, bring those people together, find resources to help them solve the problem.
Yeah.
It's pretty similar what you're doing in your social group.
Yeah, so it's kind of overlapping because in business, I'm in the coffee business, and actually our mission is to bring communities together through coffee. Yeah. So you notice the common thread, people that I meet, whether they are interestingly, a lot of professionals, they drink a lot of coffee, doctors, lawyers, teachers, accountants. These are people who drinks a lot of coffee. And the common thread is they are very passionate about coffee. So the idea is to bring all these people together, whether they may be musician, they are cyclists, they are chef, and the common thread is coffee. So it's not so much of you trying to promote coffee, but I think it's the same, going back to the drawing board, it's the same thing, right? You want to, for me, is to, through, even in the business of coffee, I meet so many interesting people, right? In fact, the whole coffee industry is like a family. People that I meet all over the world, they're all passionate about coffee. And when we talk about coffee, we get excited and you say, hey, you drink coffee too, and then what do you like? And I think that's globally, that coffee itself, you have a huge community. And I think that basically is to find your tribe, the people who are passionate about coffee and coming together. It's not so much of you just trying to sell a product, but it's,
and you don't have to
provide a platform for people to come together.
I loved it. I think that should be the key soundbite, that if ever you want to set up a community, think about, shining the light on and that tribe, finding people that share similar passion and values with you and find ways to help them.
Yeah.
And actually, inevitably, they are also helping you back. Because think about it, if you brought me in for your social running thing, I would definitely ask you, so Ivan, what do you do in your day job?
Okay.
Or if you bring me for your coffee thing and I ask you, so Ivan, what do you do for a day job, right? I would definitely ask you that. I want to know who's the leader that set it up. And then you'll tell me that, I run a coffee distribution company. And immediately, if I like you, it's already in my head. And then I would probably think about finding ways to help you because I've benefited from you without you having to ask it.
Yeah.
Isn't that what the Tiger people did, right? The Tiger girl did, but you did not reach out and ask them, hey, can you sponsor me? But they love what you do. They resonate with the value, and people by nature are all helpful. They want to push forward your goal.
I think if they know that you are genuine, that you are you have, like what you mentioned, like you have a pure intention. You are not there to make use of people or to cheat or whatever. I think people are more open to work with you. So I think that's how I realized the last few years how I collaborate with different brands as well.
I love it. This is quite a turn of events, because we started off thinking in terms of I want to set up community for a business purpose, but we realized that it's kind of ironic. It's like a bee doesn't wake up thinking about I want to pollinate the flower.
Yeah.
The bee just wakes up having a desire to fly around and drink the nectar, right?
Yep.
But as the bee drinks the nectar because out of enjoyment, the bee actually unconsciously pollinate the flowers all around.
Yep.
And it seems
like I say, how one thing will lead to another.
Exactly. It's a bit like precession, right? So that's my biggest takeaway from you. Now the last one, there's this very nice book that you brought. Yes. It's called Get Together.
Yeah.
Which kind of really talks about the essence of communities, about bringing people together, right?
Yes.
And then magic happens. You do not know what it will be, but magic happens.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about this book. Why do you brought this book to the studio today?
It's written by a good friend of mine. His name is Kai. And what's interesting is whatever we talk about, if I were to, and you haven't read this book.
I haven't. It's very beautiful. It's colorful.
Yeah. And the first step, so it's quite simple. It's color coded and let me share with you what's the first step. Like what you say, it's called spark the flame. So you have someone who has to be crazy enough to start something and to start and spark the flame. And the second chapter is on that's the last chapter. Let me talk about the second chapter, which is if you look at color, it's called stroke the flame. So you're going to once you start the flame, you got to find these people coming together, find your tribe, and then you got to continue and stroke the flame. And the last one is to pass the torch, which is you pass on to someone to run it. Continue running community. So if you want to get one book that talks about community, highly recommend this book. It's called Get Together. It's available on Amazon.
There you go.
It's written by people who have interviewed many people, and there are a lot of example and
a lot of worksheets actually.
Yeah, so it's very practical, easy to read. So Kai used to be from Facebook and Instagram, and the other author is Bailey, who is also one of the first community manager at Instagram.
So they're not based in Singapore.
Kai travels between Singapore and Canada, and Bailey and Kevin are in the US. Yeah. So highly recommend this book if you want to talk about building communities.
Yeah, especially if you guys resonate with today's conversation. For one, I already have a community, but I realized that I could do a lot more for that community. If I come from the angle of, we have a goal, we have a vision, but it's not communicated enough.
Yeah.
And I really think that if you set an exciting enough vision, you start to attract people to you.
Yeah, so one of the quote in the book is when you start a community is you don't build for a community, you don't build something for a community, you build with the community. So it's not just you doing something, but it's coming together as a community to build something together, and you build with them. And I think that's the beauty of community. Yeah. You can't do it alone. You need everyone's
I love
help.
It. Thank you so much.
All right, most welcome.
So Get Together.
Yeah.
So this is Ivan. I think it's so cool that we got together to learn about the science and actually the heart. I think today's conversation is the heart of building a community. And I so love that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
No, you're most welcome. And I'm going to check you out on the hiking route, right?
Oh, sure. Join us for our hikes.
I will. I have some secret routes.
Okay,
I'll tell you offline right now. Okay. So there you go. This is Ivan Kwek, community leader, and I trust that you enjoyed today's, I feel like a heart-to-heart conversation. And you know what's I've took away a lot of things, the how-tos and the why, but Ivan reminded me of a very important principle. And that is, every human being in this world has an invisible signboard hanging on their neck. And on that signboard, there are 4 words. Make me feel important. And as a community leader, if we can recognize that signboard and we can respond to that signboard, you'll start to attract your tribe. And I mean, if you think about it, it's like primary school all over again, right? Very innocent, just finding people that enjoy doing the similar things to you. And that enjoyment and that value is what attracts more people to you. And the fringe benefit come, So don't aim for the benefits of building a community. Just go back to the heart of a community, which is bringing people together to enjoy the things that you enjoy and to make the world a better place. So that is my takeaway from today's episode. If you love this interview, we publish interviews like this on YouTube every single week. So remember to subscribe and hit the bell notification, and I'll see you at our next video.